So nationally speaking, I know that everyone has heard that there have been many reports that, the pandemic and stay-at-home orders have been difficult for survivors of domestic violence. You've heard that, there are, less calls coming in for assistance, and that depends on which state you're in, but that, victims have not been able to reach out for help or assistance, as much as they would have before the pandemic. We've also heard that it's been hard for victims to access resources or help when quarantining with their abusive partner. As you can tell, quarantine has been very difficult, and to take time to run to the bathroom, to make a secretive call has been really, really difficult. Even accessing information on the computers has been hard when, a lot of immigrant families do not have the same technological access that, we've needed in order to survive during the pandemic. Additionally, with many immigrants, especially those in the AAPI communities who work in a service industry, the fact of not being able to work, has increased the dependency on a partner who does earn an income. And as you all know, financial dependency is a factor that can lead an increase in DV survivors, domestic violence survivors, not being able to leave.
What I see missing, that's a gap in service that needs to close, is cultural accountability. And I specifically say that, when I say that, I mean it for both those that have been impacted with issues with anger and the inability to control it, or violent impulses, and those that have been victims of domestic violence. So what I mean by that is that, when we're codependent, for example, I can Google right now, prevention models for domestic violence, and I'll get a whole list of them. But I guarantee you, I will not find one that says, some of the pressures that come, for example, with being for men that are, society has gender assignment and assumes you're expected to be the provider of the household. But nobody talks about the type of pressure that comes with the fact that if you're a Black man, whether you're college educated and highly skilled, you're going to get screened out of about 5 interviews that you're totally qualified for, but you're not going to get. And the same thing, with our Mexicano Latino population, there's multi-generational. In my own survivor story, I know some of the pressure was that there was that multi-generational expectation to not only fund our family here in the United States, but our familia también that's in Mexico. And they're going to do it. The abuser in my family did it because that's what was expected, but never talked about how the pressure and trauma from being in that position and fear of failure really added to the violent impulses. And the same thing with our young girls, our daughters, our sisters, teaching them survivor strategies that we were taught to survive, to exist in America. We suffer from a lot of poverty trauma. So we teach our daughters a lot of times, get together with someone that has a nice house and has a good job. But we don't teach them to get together with someone that's not going to isolate them, that's not afraid to be left, that's not going to teach them and tell them monitor who they talk to and isolate them. We're not teaching them that. And we cannot sit there and depend on systems to do that for us. We need to be responsible for doing that.
What law enforcement was designed for has nothing to do with domestic violence. And so do we, so going back to the point I was trying to make earlier, which is domestic violence is a societal, it's a cultural issue. It's not a personal, individual issue. So if we see it as such, then we can stop thinking about, we can start thinking differently about, then who do we call when we have a domestic violence incident? How do we prevent that? If we realize, if we accept the fact that this is societal, this is cultural, these are norms that have been handed down to us, they're part of the constructs of our American society, then the question, for me, the questions are about how do we change those constructs? How do we dismantle, deconstruct those constructs? How do we change the culture around the fact that American culture is centered on power and control? I hate to use these words, but patriarchy and hierarchy has no place in our culture. We talk about having a healthy masculinity. How about a healthy femininity as well? We need to be healthy individuals, healthy persons, healthy beings. We can't have healthy relationships until we as individuals become healthy. And so then healing is not just about survivors, healing is about everyone in the community. When we focus on how we heal and build whole, healthy communities, that's how we begin to prevent domestic violence. That's how we begin to prevent interpersonal violence. It's not the one-on-one. It's not marriage counseling. It's not teen dating counseling. It's how do we shift the paradigm? How do we change our mind about how we think about power control?
There's blessing there. There's medicine in those neighborhoods. But we demonize and don't feel that we have the medicine within us. We know what to do. We know what to do with our relatives. We have strong women that know what to do with other women. We have strong men that know what to do. But we have to first acknowledge that medicine. I became a psychologist, and now there were all these restrictions on what to do, the reporting and what you have to do, and you got to report to police. And every time you reported to police, they took the black or brown man away and shoved him to the ground. And now he had other assault charges, and now he was criminalized. And now it wasn't that. That's not what the mother wanted. It's not what the partner wanted. She just wanted him to stop being violent. They didn't want to criminalize him or beat him up. Over 70% of domestic violence situations, the women do not want the men incarcerated. And in fact, even if you send them away, they come back.